as a new screening test is set to be introduced on the NHS. Mum of 3 Caroline White explains why she has concerns about its consequences. It was a small, musty room where the news was delivered to us that our first child Seb, who was 5 days old, had Down's syndrome. It was the sort of airless room you know is kept free for bad news. The paediatrician sharply exited to allow us some time to take it all in, and I vividly remember how claustrophobic I felt. The sick feeling in my stomach and the hot flush in my cheeks. I wanted to run, but we were captive. 3 months into my pregnancy I had paid for a nuchal scan. Back in 2007, the test, which tells a woman the chances of her having a baby with Downs, was available to women over 35. At 34, I felt compelled to pay for it. The results came back low risk, as the NHS likes to refer to it, and I merrily ticked it off my list of things to worry about. I remember skipping past the section about Down's syndrome in my pregnancy books and whispering to a friend, I couldn't deal with that, something I'm hugely ashamed of now. The diagnosis was a huge shock. I imagined a lifetime of difference, exclusion and feeling second-rate. I assumed the searing pain and devastation I felt would stay with me forever, but bit by bit the hurt began to lift as I fell in love with my baby. He smiled, he laughed, he cried. He walked. He talked, and he did everything you would expect a baby to do. Slowly his diagnosis slipped from the fore and I stopped seeing Down's syndrome and just saw my son. At 8 years old, Seb is bright and witty, he reads and writes and is ridiculously sporty. He goes to a mainstream school and his teacher believes he is the most popular kid in his class, if not the whole school. His charming personality and deep empathy levels never fail to make an impact. I have seen the hardest of people break into a smile when faced with his beaming face and bright blue eyes. I am hugely proud of him and can't bear to think how our story may have ended, or never really begun, had we known he had Down's syndrome when I was pregnant and uninformed. So why was I so scared of Down's syndrome? Why do 90% of parents who receive a positive prenatal diagnosis decide to terminate? Yet almost all parents who have a child with Downs say that they wouldn't change a thing. When I was growing up I never knew anyone with Downs syndrome or any disability. The emphasis placed on testing reinforced the idea that it was something to fear. I based my future on the past and a time when people with disabilities were segregated. Not seen or heard. Labeled and not included. It is unsurprising and tragic that historically when people with Downs were not nurtured or encouraged, opportunities to reach their full potential were limited. Yet the children growing up with Seb don't see a label. They have no preconceptions of what Down's syndrome is or what it historically meant. Seb is not limited by their low expectations. They know he needs a little help with some things, but that is just a small part of him. He is defined by his personality, his likes and dislikes, and not his condition. If I asked his friends to describe him, they would say, he is good at football, he wears glasses, he is funny, he is a Chelsea fan. Ask the parents and they would most likely say, he is the boy with Downs in year 3. However, just as we are close to making positive strides with inclusion and people with Downs syndrome being valued as equals, scientists have developed a more accurate, non-invasive prenatal test for Down's syndrome. It is predicted the termination rate will increase to almost 100%, with some Scandinavian countries already working towards eradicating Downs altogether. I could not imagine our family without Seb. He has enriched my world, changed my whole outlook on life for the better, and every day I am thankful he is here. There is no doubt that there is a place for a new non-invasive test, but it needs to be administered responsibly alongside balanced information and the whole picture. Not in an airless room with an outdated medical textbook about Downs and an "I'm sorry." The Label. A Story for Families by Caroline White, published by Ivy Press, £6.99. is available to pre-order from amazon.co.uk or woodary.com. For more information and support, visit futureofdowns.com. Watch more videos at video.5la.net.